Hey guys, it's Britt from Thriving Scribes, and today I am doing a training here all about how to create a killer content strategy for your author platform. Now, the reason I'm here today doing this training is because yesterday I asked my newsletter subscribers to let me know if they had any interest in this topic, and I got an overwhelming amount of interest on this particular topic. Now, what gave me this original idea is in the winter, if you're a subscriber of mine, you might remember this, I sent out a survey to my entire audience, and you could go through it and let me know what you're interested in learning more with, what you need help on, what you've been struggling with, and how I can help solve those problems for you. And a ton of you guys, a ton of my audience was saying that one of the things they're struggling with is their author platform, knowing what to say, knowing what to share, knowing how that's going to benefit them as an author. And so yeah, that is why I am here today with you in this training. And so we are going to cover a couple things that I think is really important when you are designing a content strategy for your author platform. There are a couple really important things that you really should consider when you start this process and when you are really getting serious about starting your author platform. So first, let me go ahead and cover what an author platform is. Basically, an author platform is all of the avenues that you use to reach your ideal readers and to nurture your audience, to connect with them, and then to ultimately convert them over into book readers. That is what your author platform is, and it looks a little bit different for every single author. Not everybody are going to be showing up on the same platforms, not everybody are going to be using the same social media channels and things like that, but an author platform is really just how you are connecting with and reaching your readers. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to talk about here when developing an author platform content strategy is you really need to think about who your ideal reader is. Now, I'm not really going to spend too much time here talking about actually how to figure out who your ideal reader is, because I've done a ton of blog posts and have some resources on that already that I can link up in the description of this video. But I do want to mention that here, that really understanding exactly who you're talking to when you are posting on social media, when you are sending out your newsletters, when you are writing blog posts, that is so super important when it comes to getting clarity on what kind of content you want to create and what you want to talk about, what language you want to use, and what path you want to create for your ideal reader, okay? Okay, so once you know who your ideal reader is, it's really time to start thinking about, okay, so what are these people going to find interesting? What is going to get them to engage with me? How am I going to catch and keep their attention on social media, on my blog, and things like that? So there are really three types of end goals that you have with your author platform when it comes to the kind of content that you want to create. First of all, you're going to want to create content that connects with your ideal reader, that gets that relationship building, content that gets conversation going, content that catches the eye of your ideal reader, content that gets them wanting to reply back to you. And then you want content that is going to engage your ideal reader. So these are going to be things like questions, things that are going to get them to take an action. Do you want them to answer a poll? Do you want them to send you some kind of feedback? Or do you just want them to reply to you? So engagement is really just a way to nurture this audience now, to get them interacting with you. And then, of course, the third end goal here is you're going to want to create content that converts. So this is actually getting somebody to buy your book, to read your writing, right? So those are your three end goals when it comes to your content. Now, figuring out exactly what to say, again, that's going to be a little bit different for all authors. Why? Because we all write in different genres. We all are targeting different people online. But I do have a couple tips here to help you figure out what to say. The first and very important thing here is I want you to commit to showing up as a person online, as yourself, not just somebody hiding behind a computer screen, hiding behind grab my book here links and things like that. That is not creating connection. That is not engaging your audience, and that's ultimately probably really not even going to convert them over, because you have not built any type of know, like, and trust factor when you're just link dropping to your Amazon sales page. So that said, I am 100% behind creating a personal author brand where you are branding you as the author and you are showing up online as a human being who is going to connect and engage and nurture and have conversations and things like that. So showing up as yourself online is really important to all of this that I'm going to be talking about, right? So the second tip here that I have is to create sort of content buckets. So of course you're going to want to talk about your book and your writing and things like that. You want to talk about your fictional world and you want to get them interested, and you want to, leave excerpts and things like that on your author platform. But you also want to be talking about other things besides your books. You want to be talking about things that you are personally interested in, things that your ideal reader is going to be personally interested in. You want to think about ways to get them talking with you, to connect with them, to reach them where they're at, and show them that, hey, I am a human being as well, and I like these things too, so let's talk about them. So I call these things content buckets, and really how you can figure out what your content buckets are going to be is sit down and think about 5 to 9 things that you really can never get tired of talking about. These could be things that you like, things that you enjoy to do, your hobbies. These can be other fandoms online. These could be, books, movie, pop culture things. These could be all kinds of things, but they're going to be personal to you, personal to your genre, and personal to your author brand. So for instance, if you are a huge fan of the Harry Potter world, maybe you talk about Harry Potter, share Harry Potter memes and gifs and all kinds of things like that, create conversation about Harry Potter, ask your audience questions about them and things like that, because that is a way to create connection with your ideal audience, right? So if they like Harry Potter and you like Harry Potter, that they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I like Harry Potter too. Let's talk about it, right? Now, of course, not everybody likes Harry Potter, and that might not fit you and your genre and your brand. It's just an example. It could be things like you're a planner junkie and you like to talk about your planners, show what you're doing in your planner, how you plan. This could be something like traveling. You could share pictures of you traveling the world or the places that you've visited, sharing stories around that. There are a ton of things that you can talk about on social media and things like that that have absolutely nothing to do with your book, but have a purpose and have a reason why you're talking about it. Again, to connect with your audience, to engage your audience, and ultimately to convert your audience. Because if you become personable, if you become something that they love, that they relate to, then they're going to be more likely to want to check out your book, to want to check out your writing, okay? If they're just staring at your book cover, of course it's beautiful, of course it can catch their attention, your blurb can do a good job of converting people over. But if they know you as a person, if they see you all the time, if they're talking to you and engaging to you, that is how you build a community of actual fans, people who really, really support you and your author journey, okay? So now that you know who you're talking to, what kinds of things you can talk about, it's time to think about how to actually create this content, right? That's what comes next in content strategy. And I am one who just loves content batching. Why? Because that means you can sit down one time, one designated time slot in your schedule and create all of the content up front. Now, you don't have to create an entire month's worth of content up front, but just sitting down even once a week and saying, okay, so this is what I'm going to talk about this week. Let me go ahead and draft up some posts. Let me go ahead and get them in my post scheduler. Let me schedule some newsletters and things like that. Getting all of that set up and done in one time slot is so helpful in freeing up your time later so that you can have more time throughout the week to write, more time throughout the week to market if you need to edit, whatever it is that is in your schedule this week. You're not going to have to worry about, one, forgetting to post on social media and then just ghosting your audience all week. 2, you're not going to have to worry about stressing and figuring out what to talk about because you've already figured that out and it's already scheduled for you. And 3, that means that you can spend your time on social media responding and engaging instead of having to be in content creation mode even more, because I don't know about you, but when I have a week full of writing, it's like my content creation well kind of dries up and I do not really feel like showing up online how I should. So that's what I recommend. Batching is my number one tip here on how to actually create your content for your author platform. Of course, with batching, that doesn't mean that you can't show up whenever you feel like it. Like if something happens or something is on your mind, you can absolutely post that, live. You do not have to wait to batch it out or schedule it for later. But knowing that you've got content already scheduled and coming through, That gives you the freedom, the time freedom, and you can just kind of sit back and relax and be like, okay, that's taken care of. Now I can do what I enjoy to do, okay? And that wraps up my tips today for how to create a killer content strategy for your author platform. I've shared some tips here about what is really important to look at as you are crafting your strategy going forward. All right, guys, I am going to wrap this up. I hoped it really helped you. Bye.